alive!
Hello. So this is probably one of the craziest stories of my entire life. And the way it starts, a lot of people actually go, huh, that sounds vaguely familiar. So I get off a ship. It's called the Normandy. And we land on this crazy little rock in the middle of nowhere. And I got two friends on either side, Garrus and Tally. And we're walking around and we're looking for a lady named Arya. And we found this huge dance club named Afterlife. We go into Afterlife. There's some chill music playing, some dancers everywhere. And then as we're still looking for this person, we wander downstairs and the music down there is just banging. Kick drums, just 150 beats per minute. It's a sweet track. Walk in the room and all of a sudden it's just like everybody dancing and I realize, holy crap, I wrote this song. So if that kind of rings a bell, here's why. I'm talking about the video game Mass Effect 2 that came out in 2010. And I was a huge Mass Effect fan, and I was completely stunned that somehow one of my pieces of music wound up in there. And there's two parts to the story. And one is how did I wind up writing that piece of music? And two is how did it wind up in the game? So my whole life, I've been so blessed in the fact that I've been an audio artist. I've created sound effects and music and stuff forever. And so as a kid, I always, grew up, my idols were like Jean-Michel Jarre and Vangelis and Tangerine Dream, the big pioneers of electronic music. And of course, growing up through the 90s, where dance music and everything first started coming to the United States, Joey Beltram, Danny Tenaglia, Paulo Confold were all like my big heroes. And so I did a lot of that type of music back then. And I used to be a record mastering engineer, and I would, cut vinyl records, take them to dance clubs, kind of see how the crowd reacted to it. If it sucked, everybody go to the bar. If it was great, everybody would come out and they'd dance. And I used to run down the dance floor and be like, oh, this is awesome, I wrote that. And they're all like, you're drunk. So I knew at one point in my life that I was never going to be one of those guys. I was never going to be the rock star, right? So, I did what most musicians who can't find work do. We become audio engineers. No offense to the man in the back. So, and through that, over the course of years, I wound up really taking this huge leap of faith back when video games were not such a big deal. In the early 2000s, I joined a little small company called Electronic Arts. And and I started doing sound design, like trying to fit wonderful sounds into 4 megs of RAM. And I used to do games like NASCAR and Tiger Woods and Madden and those kinds of things, Warhammer. And essentially what had happened here was a sound designer's job back then was that you would create all the sounds for the game and you would also write all the music for the game. And everybody that was in my department did this. And I ran into the same problem there that I did pretty much my whole life. Everybody always asked me, do you play guitar? And the answer was no, because I was a synthesist. And everybody was like, we don't like that kind of music. Can you play some rock music? And this would happen over and over and over again, all the way from the time I was in high school, all the way into my professional career. People, and even people in my department would make really cool music tracks, and they would always pick the rock ones over the electronic ones. And, it kind of hurts your soul a little bit when you're a composer. So what was funny is this particular track I wrote for an arena football game. And it was one of those tracks, we wrote like as a department, like 10, 15 tracks for this game. And the producer heard this one, and it was, arena football, man. It's like crazy bodies slamming against each other in a court that's like, quarter size of the NFL or whatever. I'm like, this is perfect. 150 beats per minute, high energy. Producer was like, hell no. Hell no. So this track just like wound up on the server. It's called Lo-Fi Epic. And through some bizarre twist of fate, our sister studio, BioWare, up in Edmonton, Canada, was making Mass Effect several years later, like 4 or 5 years later. and they were looking for music that they could get on the cheap. And so they went through the servers of the company that they worked for, and there it was. So it winds up in the game, but nobody sent me an email or anything like that, and it's okay. I mean, I got paid. I worked there plenty of years. So, but the funny part about it was, of course, going back to that moment where, holy crap, I'm in this game, which was so like, climbing the summit of Mount Everest kind of moment for me. I ran on and I got on the computer and I was trying to tell my friends, hey, I looked on YouTube, I typed in Mass Effect, Lower Club Afterlife, and there had already been like 285,000 views on somebody who had extracted that piece of music and put it up online, and they were like, who the hell wrote this? And somebody said, well, according to the metadata, it's this guy named Jesse James Allen. And then that was followed by, who the hell is Jesse James Allen? And I'm all like a dork. It's me, So, not that I ever got rich or anything or famous, but some very bizarre things happened. It did get a life of its own because it wound up in a meme called Let's Dance, or Wanna Dance. It's called Wanna Dance by a guy named Fine Leather Jackets. And it was just, I don't know if anybody you guys ever played Team Fortress, which was a Valve game. It was kind of like a little shooter game. Well, it's basically this huge dude, bald-headed dude, video game character. And he's just like doing this with a big machine gun, kind of like in the little room. And this meme went totally viral. And I had heard it had gone, there was like 30-something variations of this meme, and it still cascades today. I still get a ton of emails about the piece of music, and a lot of fans have done reproductions of the track with everything from chiptune versions of it to electric bass guitar stuff. And so I guess, to wrap this story up, do your own thing. Don't worry about what everybody says. Don't need to play the guitar. If you stick to your guns, you might just write the hit of the universe.